Oh yeah, new package time. Let's give it an unboxing. Cue the dramatic music. Audio jungle. Audio jungle. Who am I kidding? It's a light. It doesn't need to be this serious. So today Elgato sent me a new product, and it wasn't what most people were probably expecting when they announced the new product. It's a ring light. And it's huge. It's also why there's a bunch of boxes in the back, because it came in a giant box, and then the actual shipping box for that was freaking massive. It takes up like my whole kitchen. Thanks, Elgato. And with this new release, I think I feel confident locking in my stance that Elgato has become the Apple of streaming products, and we're going to talk about that in today's review. So this is Elgato's newest lighting product to go with their Key Light and their Key Light Air. This is their ring light. Of course, they're naming their products after what the products actually are. So when I talk about the Key Light being a key light, it's the name of it, but it's also the function that it serves. So that's a little funny. This thing is $200. This is their most expensive light yet, and it is pretty expensive for an LED ring light like this. Now, of course, it doesn't even begin to compare to the actual like professional magazine shooting ring lights that you can see here, but that's not entirely relevant when a lot of people are going to point out that you can pick up a $30, $40, $60 ring light from Amazon from like Newer and brands like that for very cheap. I'm actually going to check out one of those later in the video to compare. At $200, what are you actually getting for your money? Well, you're getting premium OSRAM LEDs, which are the standard, they're what you want, but cheap products like this ring light ain't gonna have them. It's completely flicker free. It has the diffusion material that I talked about, which is a lot easier on my eyes, having just tested a competitor product. This is way easier to stare at. It's fully color adjustable with a much higher range than most of the cheap stuff you buy on Amazon. It has the app control. It goes up to 2500 lumens brightness, which is incredibly bright. Color range is 2900 Kelvin to 7000 Kelvin. And it's just generally made of better materials. And you're overall not going to get a lot of that build quality in here. And a lot of the specs, the color accuracy, the 95% CRI that it has, which helps your skin tones be reflected in the best possible way, and all of that, that may not mean anything to a lot of streamers, and that's fine. Like, really, you just need to know you're paying for a premium product. And just because a product is premium and maybe not for you doesn't mean that it's a problem that it exists, because if you're happy with the cheap $20, $30 ring light, no one's taking that away from you. No one's saying you can't use that. Just because a product isn't made for a budget audience doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. So if you're not aware what the point of a ring light is or how it differs from the key lights like I'm using right now, a ring light specifically, well, as you can see, is a ring that evenly distributes light around your face. This provides a smooth shadow fall off from the front of your face being kind of the most lit or the most evenly lit, to shadows in the back, whereas right now I have lights coming at me at an angle, and especially if I turn one of them off, well, you can start to see I get more shadows over here until I fill them in with a second light. So it provides completely 100% even lighting across the front of your face and smooths in a lot of cracks and crevices and corners and things like that. But that can be a completely off-putting look for some people, as it's primarily used for magazine covers for fashion models and things like that, or for beauty vlogging where you're doing makeup tutorials and you need a completely even distribution of light to show exactly what you're doing. That's kind of the purpose of these. So it does seem kind of strange that Elgato would release a lighting product that is more or less a super niche, like original target purpose. However, I think a lot of people are gonna end up flocking to this just because of the convenience, because unlike having the two lights with separate power supplies, separate Elgato multi-mounts mounted to my desk here, controlled separately through the Stream Deck, and then a separate Elgato multi-mount for my cameras that I have here, at least for your primary camera, you have it all mounted on the ring light itself. So this screws into a 1/4-20 tap as always, and then attaches to the Elgato multi-mount that comes included, which is actually a shorter mount. Instead of having 3 sections, it only has 2, and the base of it is a little bit shorter, only by a couple inches though, than the main multi-mount. This is to get what they consider optimal height up above people's monitors and things like that for your camera pointing down. However, once you include the included ball head, which is garbage, and I'll talk about that in a moment, and put it on that multi-mount, I would argue that the new multi-mount is not short enough, and I would have much rather seen a much shorter option in order to really get this where I wanted. So I was kind of disappointed in that, because on this higher up surface that I use to record these videos on, I basically have to point like the camera down at me, and then the locking mechanism on the multi-mount doesn't want to keep all this weight kind of at an angle, so it starts to sag a little bit. It's just a weird time, and I would have just loved to see a much shorter multi-mount that's like 6 inches shorter or something like that, but that's just me. You will of course notice a fair degree of wobble in the camera since it's attached to this entire rig balanced on a single pole. If you do any moving of your desk or what have you, your entire camera moves with that, which is not ideal either. So while I talk about how this is a better product due to the quality of the parts and stuff like that, they clearly just threw in whatever cheapest ball head they could find to screw in and include with this, and it is bad. It sticks, it's really hard to maneuver. I would recommend replacing it with a third-party ball head at some point. As far as physical layout goes, here it is. Of course, this is the entirety of the ring light. It does feel a little bit cheaper compared to the key lights, which is surprising for the price given that it's so much more expensive. However, it is built in the same style technology as those original key lights. So it is edge lit from the inside pointing out, I believe. I will have a graphic on screen if I have that backwards, but it's edge lit from one of the edges pointing out instead of pointing directly at you, just like the key lights, which then gets bounced around and diffused through the nice little pearl looking diffusion panel that makes the lighting much more softer and easier on your eyes. And that is actually one of the main reasons I prefer the Elgato key lights to some of the other bigger LED panels that I have, such as one you see there, is the way that the diffusion is handled is actually a lot easier on my eye strain for streaming for all hours of the day than some of the other options, even if they're better lights. So it's one of the reasons I use them. On the bottom, you get the power reset buttons, the 1/4-20 tap, and then a power plug. This does use the same 13 volts 4 amps power adapter as the original key light, but you cannot use the key light air power supply for it, as that's much lower. On the back, you don't really have much of anything. However, they did add physical controls to this light. They finally decided it was worth spending the extra 50 cents for buttons on this thing. My big complaint about the original Elgato key light and air was that they didn't have physical controls on them. And there is some concern of like a planned or forced obsolescence issue when you don't have physical controls and it's dependent entirely on having their app or their Stream Deck or whatever. So you have the ability to control it through the physical buttons. You have a plus and minus button on each side here. Kind of gimmicky way to go, and usually they have knobs, but that is a little bit more convenient. You could have just put it on the front instead of your own logo though, Elgato. That's always an option, of course. But you do have that option. Then you do have the Elgato Stream Deck control for turning it on, changing color temperature, things like that through the Elgato Control Center app, which you can use on your computer or your phone. Pairing it the first time is always a headache. You open up the app on a device that has Wi-Fi, so I usually use my phone and then add new accessory. It adds this, and then usually for me, it's a song and dance of like resetting it 3 times and with this one, you hold down the reset button for 10 seconds, it'll flash 3 times and then it's reset. And by the third pair with my Wi-Fi network, it usually finally takes. It's always a headache. But then you can control it through any computer on your network or your Stream Deck or whatever. So you have a bunch of different options to control it. And I love, especially when you're going to be right here with your face kind of in the camera, that you do have the option to quickly make fine-tune adjustments. And I believe if you hold these in, then you get 2 color temperature adjustments and you can adjust from there. And boy, does this thing get bright. I'll try to have on screen like in a completely dark room what the brightness minimum and maximum of one of the older style key lights versus this is. But turning this thing on full blast is one of the brightest lights I have used out of all of my production gear, which is pretty insane. It gets pretty intense. And of course you do have 1/4-20 thread on the base here, and they include a ball head for this so you can attach your camera. I highly recommend investing in a quick release plate system so that you can quickly pull on and off your camera. Now this one's a cheap one from Amazon because I ran out of my normal plates, but I strongly recommend using the Arca Swiss system. It's a specific style of plate and quick release clamp that I use on all of my camera setups, and it's the most convenient IMO and most flexible. It's like $15 for a little plate and clamp for your camera, so get one for each of your cameras or whatever, and it makes it a lot easier to attach this rather than spinning your camera around forever. And if you have a big lens on it or a microphone or something, that could actually bump into it. And that's one of my complaints about setting up these lights when I'm doing multiple setups like this, is the big key light, I'm like bumping it into everything around it because spinning it in place is really obnoxious. I wish they had a better quick release system for this as well, but that would break compatibility with other mounts, so I understand why they don't. However, if you're just setting it up once and never touching it again, screwing it on the one time isn't going to be a big deal. But if you're someone who only has one camera and you want to use it for multiple purposes, so you'll be picking it up and removing it from this, then you'll want a quick release plate. You can of course use this with webcams, traditional cameras, and even phones if you get a phone clamp. They don't include one in the box. They sell one with their multi-mount kit that you can pick up on its own. It's like 20 bucks, or you can just pick one up on Amazon that's built for normal tripods, and you're good to go there. So overall, it's basically like their normal key light, but the effect and the look that you get from it is quite different. I'm going to cut to showing you my traditional stream lighting setup versus the ring light so you can really see the differences side by side. If you haven't been watching my channel much in the past couple weeks, which if you missed it, you missed a lot of really good videos, so you probably should. I've been talking about a new video site that I've paired with a lot of other creator YouTubers and education creators to build a better platform, and that site's called Nebula. Nebula allows us to do things for our video goals and our career goals that YouTube doesn't inherently let us do in terms of experimentation with different content that may not perform as well on the YouTube algorithm, or dealing with demonetization or ad issues or whatever. It allows us to explore those ideas and do them in a format that we may not be able to pull off here on YouTube. And I am super grateful to be a part of this community and to have my content up there. If you sign up for Nebula, you get all of the content from my channel that you know and love already, completely ad-free by the way, but then you also get Nebula Originals. Now currently I don't have any, although I'm hoping to work on some soon, pandemic providing. But you can check out wonderful, great content such as Alex Goes Bananas, where he checks out pop culture from the early 2000s and 90s that make me feel like an old man because I lived through those times. You got the podcast Genesis from Low Spec Gamer, where he tells the origin stories of your favorite YouTubers. Lots of really cool content. And I'll be starting my own podcast with Nebula as well as a result of this partnership. Along with that, CuriosityStream saw what Nebula was doing for education YouTubers as a great education documentary video site themselves and said, hey, why don't we work together and get even more people invested in educational content? And so that's what they've done. We now have a bundle with CuriosityStream and Nebula together where you get both sites. CuriosityStream having thousands of titles of educational and documentary video content, whether you want to watch a video about tech and the way it's taking over our lives, or listen to David Attenborough talk about animals and the planet. You have something for everybody there, and then you get all of the content from us education YouTubers over on Nebula for free as long as you're subscribed to CuriosityStream. This is currently the best possible way you can support my channel and help me do bigger and better projects and new formats that I want to tackle. Best of all, it's as cheap as it could possibly get for you with their 26% discount at the moment on their annual price, which you can use with my curiositystream.com/epos and the coupon EposVox in the description below. You get it for under $15 a year, which is just mind-blowing. I had to check with them a couple times to make sure that that was really the price I was supposed to be telling people, because it's just so low. You can't go wrong there. So much video content on both CuriosityStream and Nebula, and you're helping people like me achieve our dreams. So check it out, curiositystream.com/epos, link below. So other than the boring backdrop, this is what I typically recommend for my usual lighting recommendations. We are using Elgato's key lights here. So I have the main key light as my main key light, that's what it's actually called, over here on the left, and then I have the key light air acting as a fill light kind of over here on the right, just filling in some of those shadows so I don't have too much of the black eye effect. Get me a little bit of towards the Rembrandt look, but not necessarily exactly on that Rembrandt look. And we are doing pretty well. Like, this is clean lighting for a live stream, and this is fine in most cases. Now, if we turn off one of these, key light air notably, we have a more dramatic fall off of the main key light over to harsh shadows on my side, and we get a little bit of, darkness over here. And of course we can play with that. We can move the lights in different positions, but generally speaking, this is the kind of setup that I'd recommend for a, stream light or normally. But keep in mind, you got different shadows cast by the different light angles, especially with a big nose like mine. You get shadows over here, you get shadows over here, and not everybody wants that. And the ring light fills all of that in and provides a different look. Also keep in mind the glint in my eyes based on the position of the key lights. That's a factor as well. Now if I crank up the main key light here, I'm gonna get overexposed a little bit, but then turn down the air. Find a little balance here where the air is barely on, but still on. There we go, shouldn't be too overexposed. Got a nice even light. Now this is with the Elgato key light and the key light air. Let's switch to the ring light. Now this is what I look like lit entirely by the Elgato ring light. It is set to about, it's not gonna give me a percentage, there we go. About 18% at the moment, which seems to not be overexposing me, so here you go. And you can see the effect that it has on my face compared to the previous sample. I'll do a little side by side here, because we have the whole focus kind of around the front of our face, and then we have a shadow roll off to the back as you go around the entire face versus just on one side. But it does fill in a lot more of those shadows on my face, but then presents them in different areas. So again, this is kind of focused on beauty vloggers and things like that, and less so for more traditional use, but it is a look that some people prefer. So you can see how it looks here And notice the glint that it has in your eyes as well, provides you that little like spaceman look. Now, what we can still do is if we don't like, some of the shadows on one of the sides of our face, or we don't like this entire effect, we can still pair it with a light. I am using the Key Light Air here. A smaller light makes more sense for this, but I can turn that on and get a little bit more fill, so we still have a drop off to one side, but my face is much more filled in on the whole. So the day after my main recording session for this product, this bad boy arrived. This is a $60 eMart, that's really the brand name, ring light, which on first impressions seems like it's a way better value. It comes in this nice little bag, it comes with a full light stand, it comes with accessories. You've got 2 remotes, one for the light itself and one for a Bluetooth remote to control your phone if you're filming your phone or you're filming with your phone on this. It's got an extra like wiggly arm to further adjust the where it's positioned. It's much bigger. It's got batteries on the battery slots on the back for Sony NP-F batteries. It's got a screen that indicates the color temperature and brightness that you're at. You've got full physical controls as well. Seems like a better all-around product, but then once you look closer, you start to see why this is $60 versus $200. First of all, the light stand that's included with it is the worst light stand I've ever owned. And I've owned a lot of cheap light stands that break over the years. This one I would not trust anything on in the first place. Like, this is just a disaster. The light itself is very harsh on your eyes, despite this big diffusion looking piece of plastic. It's completely light, made of cheap plastic. I complained that the ring light from Elgato was made of cheaper feeling materials than the original key lights, but it still feels way more premium than this. Like this, you will drop once and it will shatter. It flickers as soon as I turn it on, especially at lower brightnesses, so you can get the right kind of lighting you want. It starts flickering all heck and back. It's just a bad time all around. So yeah, if you're just doing like a quick low budget family photo shoot or something like that, this is an option. Or if you're really on a budget, but it's a completely different league of product to the Elgato key light. And I hope this at least somewhat conveys that. And the cool thing is once you have the reliability of a product like this that isn't gonna flicker on you, isn't gonna die out or whatever, you can build a whole full production cart, which is what I have right here, that you can then shoot your entire YouTube channel on if desired, because I have the ring light mounted on a rolling C-stand with a sandbag. So I can, put it in a corner when I'm done filming so it's out of the way, move it back when I need to film something. I've got my camera mounted on top. I've got an audio recorder and a microphone arm with a shotgun mic, a Deity S Mic 2 mounted on here as well. I have a full YouTube production studio. I could even mount on a Ninja monitor and all of that on this one rolly cart. The problem is most of these individual components cost almost as much as the ring light itself does. And in fact, the reason I was excited to be able to build this cart is because all of the other lights on the carts that people like Caleb Pike and stuff recommend that you can actually fit in a small space like this cost like triple or quadruple what the ring light costs. Like this light stand alone is like $160. That's how production gear works. So $200 for a light that actually lets me achieve this kind of look, even if this was a rush setup because I need to finish this video and maybe not the ideal portrayal of what's going on here. It's a no-brainer IMO. So I just wanted to clarify a little bit because a lot of people get this really confused. Just because someone says a product is good, like the Elgato ring light, the key light, anything, doesn't mean they're saying you need it or need to buy it as a streamer. And along with this weird lifestyle culture of streaming where if someone says something's good, you need to have the Blue Yeti and the Elgato whatever and all of that, you don't actually need any of it. So neither myself nor really anyone else who's reviewing this positively is saying that you or any child or anyone who doesn't have the money for it needs to go out and buy this, because you don't. And anyone actually reviewing gear saying you need X, Y, or Z isn't worth listening to in the first place. That's not really how any of this works. And I may jokingly imply that with a couple products, but it's not really the case. And I mean, you have to balance where your upgrades go if you are investing in your stream anyway. Now, a lot of people may look at this and be like, well, my camera doesn't even cost that much. I should buy a better camera first. Well, no, lighting really matters a lot more than your camera. And my buddy Tommy Calloway has always preached, instead of buying a new camera, buy better lights if you don't have really good lights already. I'm sure he would agree here. But that doesn't mean you need to buy the ring light. If you're using some cheap, tiny, newer LED panel, buy a better LED panel. You don't need to buy this light, just buy better lighting. And this is just one of many good options available to you. Also, anecdotally, while this is from eMart, I specifically avoided the newer ring light that everyone keeps sharing around because I won't touch a newer product these days with a 99-foot pole. Between how cheap they're made, how many things have broken for me, Podcastage even directly shared that one of his mic arms broke and dropped his $400 microphone. You don't want your $400 microphone or camera, your $1,000 camera maybe, sitting on your light to just fall off and break. You don't want that to happen. And they tried to bribe me to take down my video about their green screen, which literally fell apart upon opening multiple times. They sent me a replacement. I ordered 2. They sent me a replacement for one of them. All of them broke. It was a completely just poorly built product, as all newer products usually are. That's how they get them so cheap and then send them over from overseas. They are poorly built and they pretty much always fall apart. And then they tried to bribe me via email to take down that video. Sorry, but just because it's only $20 doesn't mean that's what you need to use. Now, at the start of the video, I referred to Elgato being the Apple of streaming products. And why is that? Well, it comes down to a couple things. They are trying to make the best product of the version of the product that they are making that they have, which is not inherently a bad thing, because the key lights themselves are phenomenal for what they are and for their intended purpose. And the same thing with the ring light. However, they also come at a hefty tax for that by being catered towards a specific audience by Elgato saying, we know what you need or want, and you are going to use what we think you need or want. So that comes with a limited workflow and a higher price point as well. $200 is a lot for this ring light. That is insanely expensive. A lot of people are going to look at this and be like, I'm not paying for that. Understandably so. But you are essentially paying like the Apple tax, the Elgato tax. You're getting an all-encompassing workflow, an all-encompassing ecosystem, as Apple usually calls it, in that once you have the Stream Deck and their capture card and their lights all integrated together, then you have a much smoother experience than a bunch of disconnected products that have nothing to do with each other, that you're tapping different buttons and controlling it through different ways, and it's a headache. And admittedly, it's advantageous. Like a lot of people are knee deep in the Apple ecosystem and they don't mess with a whole heck of a lot, and their life is a lot easier in many ways for it. However, if you want to use specific things that aren't in their ecosystem, or you don't have the price to pay for some of these, then you start to get a disjointed experience, and it's maybe not the best, because if you don't have a Stream Deck, then turning this on still requires your mouse and things like that, but that's not a problem. But if you really want to use it all together, Stream Deck's kind of the hub. Now, Stream Deck is one of my favorite products. Like, if you're buying any Elgato product, I would recommend you go in with the Stream Deck, and then naturally that's a gateway to all of the other ecosystem products that they have. But it's one of those where they're starting to make bougie kind of lifestyle streaming products that aren't necessarily going to appeal to a lot of people who want a more budget-friendly beginner streamer product. And that's not who they're after at this point, and that's fine. Totally fine, nothing wrong with it, but I think a lot of people need to kind of accept that they're more of the Apple business model of, we're going to make this thing, we're going to make it really well. If there's any limitations to it, that's just the Elgato way / Apple way, and here we are, versus getting something for a cheaper kind of budget streaming audience. And I think that comes from a place of streaming being so mainstream at this point and so big that now there are that kind of different tier of user and streamer, where there are plenty of people, like if I wanted a ring light like myself, I wouldn't bat an eye at $200 for a good high quality ring light, because having worked with expensive production equipment, $200 for a high quality light is considered super budget. Like, that's considered a real budget light, whereas a real high quality one is at least $1,000 in most cases, if not more. You saw the ring light comparison where it was like $3,000 for something they used to shoot with magazines. While I recommended budget quick release plates, I have a more expensive what's it called? I have a more expensive Arca Swiss quick release plate that I use for my other cameras, that the quick release plate itself was $150. So I don't blink an eye at some of these, products. But there are a lot of people who are getting into beginning streaming who saw Elgato as the first real kind of connectable, doing it right gaming streaming product brand, with the original Game Capture HD and stuff, which were theoretically expensive products, but they were much cheaper than a lot of things nowadays, and they were still accessible. And start to see the price tag add up on a lot of these and are like, maybe they think, who are you guys anymore? Maybe not. Maybe they grew up with, the Applefying of Elgato, and that's fine. And if you're buying this, you're getting a wonderful product. It'll help you out with your main lighting, your green screen lighting, all of that. But I definitely see where the frustration kind of comes from for pricing on that point. But frankly, I almost think we need this. Like, even if you're not buying an Elgato ring light or even an Elgato key light or whatever today, I think we needed a company to come in and take streaming so seriously that they make high quality products geared at streamers, because we had so long where companies only wanted to appeal to the people willing to pay lower prices for streaming products, that we got a bunch of generic budget crap. And now we get stuff like the Go XLR, the new Elgato Wave mic, the Stream Decks, this key light, things that are built for maybe a little too specific of an audience. Thankfully, this kind of stuff can be used for like general video production, especially with the physical controls, that it doesn't have to be streamer oriented. But we're getting a company that's making stuff more accessible from the higher class product level, but taking it seriously for streamers. And I think even if you don't buy this, the repercussions that will have on the streaming kind of product market getting better will ultimately be a good thing. So I don't really see it as a problem. Product links, as always, will be in the description below if you want to pick up an Elgato Ring Light for yourself, assuming they're in stock. Go check that out. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more tech education and stream guides. I'm your stream professor, EposVox. I'll see you next time.